All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another trading video here. It's been a couple weeks now since I posted my last video. I haven't really taken too many trades in the last couple weeks. I believe last Thursday, like a week and a half ago, I did make a video, and when I tried to upload it, it was just nothing there, and I honestly just didn't really feel like going back and re-recording it. I had a win in that one with 2 losses, and then after that took the biggest or second biggest loss so far of my trading career on an option of Lululemon, which I'll get into. And once that happened, I kind of looked back at my tracking, and after I had my second biggest month in June as far as profits, and I followed that up July, August, and so far in September we're all red. And so I just kind of thought I needed to sit back and reevaluate some things, look over some data, and just kind of watch the market, and then get back in when I was seeing things a little more clearly. And so that's basically what I did. CRVS is the last trade that I have taken, and this was on the 17th is when I took this trade. Today's the 21st, and so if you've been trading the last week or so, CRVS has been a big runner. This was day one of the run, and so you can see here, we'll zoom out a bit, but it was pretty flat. They released some news in the after hours and spiked. So I was looking at this for a break of $3.60. Typically I aim for breaks over the pre-market high or the previous day's highs, which would have been closer to like a $4 break. But when I was kind of setting up the trade around 8:30ish, it was before it had this big spike, and I was going for a break of 360. And just because usually I like those whole dollar, half dollars, but it had been kind of getting through that 350 level. And although it did clearly break 360 a few times here, it failed back under, and it did struggle with that 360 level multiple times, as you can see here and here the night before. And then it just had some struggle with it there, got through it briefly and was back down and couldn't get back over it there and there again. And then after I had that 360 as my breakout level that I was aiming for, it did break through that in the pre-market and get up to that $4 level and then start fading. So I kind of switched my 360 breakout to 360 as a support level. And unfortunately, since this isn't the day of the trade, I won't be able to get into the exact times on each trade like I do in my other videos. But I did get into this trade at 100 shares at $3.69 at 9:34. So this candle up here, it was, it had come down to that 360 level that I was watching and had bounced back a bit. And so I got in at 369. It kind of came back down and chopped around a bit. I took a little, like 20 shares off here at 375 and 380-ish into this bounce here. And then when it started failing, just to get a little size off. Looking back on it, I wish I would have. We're sitting right at this 360 level. I wish I would have, added those 40 shares back. I sold 20 and 20 at 375 and 380 there, and this would have been a perfect spot to add again. As you can see, it did really honor that 360 level pretty well. We did get a slight tick below down to 357, and for me, I wouldn't say my whole strategy is based on it, but a big, rule of mine and a big way that I trade is keeping losses small and cutting them quickly. So it's only 3 cents down to 357 on a 360 risk, but I'm happy that I ended up not just falling for that as soon as it fell under 360 and cutting it immediately. I kind of let it play out and see how it was going to react to breaking under 360, and it came right back over it and then was holding it solid. And so that's just something for me to keep in mind going forward, kind of adding some size in on here. But then a few minutes later, we did get this nice spike up to the 420 area. 420 exactly. So I did take off. I was out of the trade. I think my last sell was my final 20 shares I sold at 380 once it really kind of cracked down here, and it came back all the way to that 360 level, and I just got out at 380 once it was breaking down there. And in hindsight, again, would have been a great re-entry there, up right around my original one, that 369 level, or 370, up there, and just keep risking off 360. That's something I really wish I would have done, and something I've been saying for a while I really need to get better at is, taking one trade on something, and if you read it right and make a profit on it the next time, just keep going back to that ticker. That's what a lot of really good traders that I've noticed they do that a lot. If something's working for them, if they're reading a ticker right, they'll keep playing it throughout the entire day. And so that's something I need to just kind of keep more in mind. And anyone that was kind of watching my previous videos, I had been taking losses trying to play things in the afternoon, and it seemed like afternoon setups weren't really working. And of course, so that's why I played this so early in the morning. Usually I'm not that aggressive within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the trading day. I usually try to wait till about 9:45 to enter something. But I just noticed things are spiking heavy in the morning and then not really following through in the afternoon. So I did play this earlier, and of course it ran throughout the rest of the day. And this is a setup that I have been trying to play, and it really is my favorite setup, where you get these 360 levels. You get a nice spike and then it fades, but it just makes a higher low here of 370s is where it's kind of sitting. You get a nice another little spike there from 370 to 415. That's a good 10-15% or so there, and then once again it fades and bounces higher low again, higher low again. And this is just a great pattern that I would really typically look for into this 2 to 4 p.m. window. And like I said, I just didn't play it again in the afternoon because I had been taking so many losses on that before I kind of sat back for the week or two. And of course this one just rips up to 7. And like I said, if you've been following the market the last few days, it ripped again today. You can see it's up at 818. It got over 9 today, and you can see all these little blue lightning bolts in here, all my alerts kind of going off on it. So that was a little unfortunate. I didn't play it at all today. I was just a little tied up during market hours, and in here the volume was just so low that I didn't really like it too much. But once it's up here, this red to green move here, and this is kind of what I was looking for. As you can see, my alert is triggered on 592 for basically it getting over 591. And my kind of thesis there was, you can see the previous close here is at 617, and then we're above VWAP and this $6 whole dollar level. I was kind of looking for it to break through 6 and get an entry there, and then it would probably test this red to green move at 617. You could potentially take profits there if it falls, or if it fails to go green on the day like it did here. It really kind of minimizes your risk. You can just kind of take some off at 617, 615, 610 as it's failing, and then buy some dips here as it stays above VWAP, or get it again when it goes back through 6. And then once it did get back above 6 and actually go green on the day is where it really just went nuts here in about an hour or so, from that $6 level, that red to green move, all the way up to the 820s here. And then you just had some really nice consolidation again in the 750, 770 area, and up to 8, and then a nice, another push there in the afternoon, towards the end of the day. At this point, I wasn't going to chase it. I was pretty tied up in the afternoon, and once I saw it at 850 and pushing 9, I wasn't going to try to buy this backside for a bounce. It was just not enough time really left in the afternoon, but it'll definitely still be on watch tomorrow. Let's see, we can get the float on this. It's a 30 million float. Not as low as I typically look for, but it's still obviously relatively low, and especially if it's doing $84.4 million volume on the day here, you're getting 2.5 times float rotation, a little more than that, almost 3 times float rotation. So that just allows the stock to run, and is just great volume there. So CRVS, I didn't play it today. I had a small win on it, but honestly for me the small win was just needing to see something green and kind of get back on track here. And it was a great play today. And today was actually a really busy day in the market. We had NNVC, which I was watching, but it had a news halt in pre-market here, and so it was halted all day, and we didn't have an exact resume time most of the morning for it. But this one just set up great, and a break of this pre-market high 575-ish or 6 even after it comes out of the halt here. You can see another alert going off. Even just kind of looking for a break of 550 is what I was doing, or at least watching it once it got over 550. But I was not at the computer at the time, and you just got a really, it comes out of the halt and goes down a little bit, but then rips back up over it, halts again. This would be a volatility halt, so there is a difference there. And then you get this good consolidation trying to push and break 6. Then when you break 6, immediate run up to almost 7, another volatility halt, and then a push over almost up to 8, not quite, and just kind of choppy there, and then fades off the rest of the day. But this was a really nice play. And then HLBZ was one. They had news of an Amazon partnership. Let me make this chart a little bigger. So they gapped up crazy from about $14 into the 30s this morning, and it was just a little too high price for me. I'm always a little worried about that. I mean, I could have got about 30 shares of it and still had half my account to trade with tomorrow. And when you get a move off of this $32 support level and you get a $4 bounce there, I mean, that's a solid move. Or if you're holding it longer, I mean, we did break 40 on the day, so there is definitely some upside to this move. And I was watching it as it's kind of sitting here right around this $32 level, but it just wasn't really the plan that I had for it, and it was below VWAP. And as I was kind of just watching it here, I was debating whether or not I should enter, and then it kind of popped, and as it's breaking VWAP, I could have got into it. I just didn't know if the upside was worth it, because then where's my risk level at really? And after it was kind of sitting around here, I just wish I would have, I could have entered this around this $32 level and risked this $30 support that it had in pre-market. That would have been a pretty good risk reward there. I just, like I said, that wasn't my trade plan on it going into the morning, and I just didn't think of it on the fly in time, and then it was a little late. And once it's up here, a little overextended for me. I thought I definitely could have saw this run, because Amazon, that is a huge partnership. So I mean, I didn't think 40 was necessarily the top, or 41, or wherever it went. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised to see this push 50 today, but you can't just think our Amazon partnership going to 50, going to 100. You just need a good setup and good price action, and that we obviously did not get that towards the late day. I am surprised that it's down at 26.50 right now, but we've got only 1.5 million float with 48 million volume on it, so that's great. And I am sure this thing will run, maybe not tomorrow, but I'm sure we'll get another run from this at some point this week. If it does, gap down tomorrow or stay in this 26.50 area, I'll definitely be looking for like a break of 28 on a red to green move there. 28 was kind of acting as some good support. You got a little bit of a crack there, but for the most part, that $28 level, it held for most of the day until after hours here. So I think that'll be a good play tomorrow. We'll just have to see how it sets up. But then the other play that I had here was, like I said, the biggest, or maybe the second biggest loss that I have taken. Definitely the biggest percent loss that I've ever taken, and it was on Lulu here on an option. So we got a good gap up, and I saw a strategy, I don't know, it was a few months ago, for gap trading or swing trading based off of gaps. And it was this woman named Latoya Smith was on a podcast that I watch, and she was just going over her strategy. And basically, when things gap up, she'll long them. If they come out of, if they gap up and start going green, she'll just long them and swing them. Or if they go red right away on the first day, then she'll, short them or get puts on them to fill that gap down. And I had played this strategy twice, and it worked really well. I just didn't stay in the play long enough, and I had been buying shares on it, not options. So one of them I gapped up from like 42 to 50. I forget exactly the ticker, honestly, but I got in it around like $49 or something, $49.50 on a little dip in the morning, and then I sold it like 3 or 4 days later for like $3 or $4 a share gain. I don't know, it was a little below 55, but it just wasn't moving a ton. I wasn't really familiar with the strategy, so I just took the small profits because I was like, this isn't running hard enough for me. to keep holding these shares, and what am I just going to wait for it to fade and then get out at break even or a loss? And then that happened, and then I looked at it like a week or two later, and it was up in like the 80s. And that happened to me on another trade that I took on that strategy. So it's only two. It's way too small of a sample size. But I just realized, it seems to work if you play it the right way, and if you actually wait for that green day confirmation on the gap up. Unfortunately, I just got a little bit greedy here, but we just had, as you can see, this is the 1-year chart of Lulu. So it gapped up heavily off of a great earnings and was at 52-week highs. And, at this 420, it was getting into the 430s. I believe, let's see, the high of this, yeah, it was 434. Honestly, I thought that we'd be pushing like 450 in like a week or so. So I did get into a $450 call for the following Friday. So I gave myself about 10 days or so. And we'll just get into where I entered it here. VWAP won't show up on these past days, but essentially we, gapped up really nicely here. We spiked right before market open and then had this giant sell-off here. So I did get into this position. VWAP was right in here somewhere. So I got into this trade right here, and we got a quick bounce back over, or no, I got into it right in the morning here on this kind of initial sell-off, and I just thought we'd get a nice bounce. Let's see if we can get that smaller. And I thought that we'd get a nice bounce there. And we did get a decent bounce, and I was up about 15 to 20% on it immediately. And I only have like $50 left in my Robinhood account now, and it's literally all gone from this trade. So I got a bounce through VWAP here, testing that 432 level, and then it started fading, but we kind of held those levels. And then, at this time I was down about $100 on it, and I should have just been cutting it at this point and taking the loss. Or even here, once we failed at 432 to retest these highs, then we really failed to break through 430 convincingly. Like I should have been out here, but I was just being stubborn and was like, it might not work today, but it's holding up this support level, and we'll get a gap up tomorrow, and the earnings will kick in and it'll run. As you can see, it's down at 423, so I was terribly wrong about that. But once I was down like $100 on it, I was just kind of mad, and I was just like, I'm holding this until it expires because it'll finally get a bounce and start running. And I ended up selling it the day before it expired for a whole $10. So it was like a 97% loss. Really sucks. But for me, my main focus getting into trading wasn't options. Like I said in my first video, I did want to get into them just to kind of add another trading tool to my tool belt there and have some more options if it's slow. But I think I might just be spreading myself a little too thin and need to really, hone in on the low floats and the OTCs and things of that nature before I really start pushing on other patterns. And if I do, I need to at least have a better risk management and cut those losses, when they start getting ugly. But as you can see, I got it here around I forget exactly the price, but I never would have been profitable on this trade. I never was. I was down $100 after the first day, and it just got worse and worse as I started running out of time and never, retested those highs. So probably not going to refund my Robinhood account anytime soon. I'm just going to focus on my E-Trade account. I do have, like I said, like 50 something dollars left in it. So who knows? And maybe I'll get into some cheap options and stuff like that if I see a really good setup. Because I did originally take that Robinhood account from like 15 bucks, got a nice little boost from Dogecoin to like 60 or 70, and then got it up from 70 to like the mid 500s, and then took like $160 loss, and then another small loss, and then that big like 300 something dollar loss on Lulu, all three in a row, and just ruined my account. So that really sucks, but at the same time, it just kind of forces me to focus in on what I originally got into trading to do. So that is my plan going forward. I'm working on a new Excel sheet here just to get my tracking a little bit better. I saw this on Jack Kellogg's video of his 6-month recap. If you don't know who Jack Kellogg is and you're into trading, especially OTCs, he did a 6-month recap from the first 6 months of 2021, and he profited over $6 million in the first 6 months of 2021. And he was only making 5 figures a month just last year in 2020, and probably at the beginning of 2020 wasn't even breaking 5 figures a month. So it just kind of I just realized watching his video and all the information and all the data that he tracks and all the work that he kind of put in to get to where he's at, that I just I'll watch the market every day, but still just not putting in enough time and effort into really honing in on the skills enough. So that's what I'm working on now. If anyone is good at Excel, please comment on this video and help me. I can't figure out some of these equations. Luckily, Jack kind of clicked on some of these boxes while he was going over his profits and all of that stuff. So I was able to steal his formulas. I would pause the video and steal them. But the ones that he didn't click on, I can't figure out how to get some of these things. So if you're good at Excel and want to help me out, please comment. I'd be very happy with that. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. I'll be getting back into it, hopefully getting a little bit more consistent with the videos again. Like I said, I was just kind of taking a step back for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I didn't want to just keep losing. I just kind of needed to refocus and kind of get another feel for the markets here. But thanks again, and see you guys next time.